Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm T with Teresa H Creates, and this is part 2 of my Twilight lunch sack junk journal. I want to just jump right into this and start working on our cover. I have this really thin chipboard. Don't look at this. These aren't my numbers. This was already on it, and it looks like it was 25 cents is what it cost. It was a 12 by 12. It was given to me in some stuff that a crafter was destashing, and so I am going to go ahead and use it. It's pretty thin. I didn't want it to be super thick. This actually has the consistency of like a cereal box or any kind of noodle box, something like that, a pasta box. It has that kind of consistency to it. So just to give you an idea of what I'm working with here, I did go ahead and cut down my pieces so that we could jump right in. Let's see. This is the cover, and this is the bottom. Okay. All right. So I am going to take my double-sided tape in the 1 inch and put it down. I'm already running low on this, so I need to go ahead and get more because I've absolutely loved the 1 inch size. That has been a lot more helpful than previously doing the 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch and having to put down tons and tons of lines. All right, I'm going to go ahead and burnish this down. I did cut this cover piece down so that it was just 1/8 of an inch larger than the actual journal because I really wanted it to fit the actual pages exactly. I didn't want it to overlap too much. I wanted it to be pretty close to the actual size of the paper sacks. Okay. And then I'm going to use my art glitter glue. If we're going to position items, it is always best to use a combo of your adhesives. And here I'm doing the double-sided tape and my art glitter glue. This wet glue will help me to reposition this if I need to. I did go ahead and leave about 1 inch all the way around. Right, I'm going to put it down, flip it over. I'm going to go ahead and burnish it and make sure it's attached everywhere. Okay, then I'm going to start working the pages. I'm just going to bend them. So I'm working those folds. We'll do this side, and then we'll get this side. All right, now I've got my corners. I'm going to go ahead and miter those. Where are my large scissors? There are all kinds of mitering tools out there that help you measure it perfectly. I kind of just eyeball mine like everything else. If you want the tools until you get used to it, that's fine. But over time, I don't feel like you really need them. But it's really just a personal preference. There's no right or wrong when it comes to crafting in general and journal making, definitely. There are suggestions, recommendations, but you do what feels comfortable and what feels right to you. Some of the tools I had to have back in the day, and then a lot of them I just skipped right over and never got. So I never picked up one of those little mitering tools that helps you measure those corners exactly. All right, now that I've got that burnished down, I'm going to put my long sides down first. And again, we're going to do a combination of the wet glue. Right, I'm going to work this edge so that I know I've got a nice close fold. So I'm going to really give it a good burnish with my bone folder and then press it down and burnish again. Let's do the other long side. All right, give it a fold. There we go. Burnish it down. Now we'll go ahead and fold in our ends. And this cardstock is really thick. It's the DCWV brand. So if any of you, it's DCWV is Die Cuts with a View. It's been around for a really long time. This actual, the Immortal Love stack that I'm using for this project was out in, what was it, 2010, I think is what what it said. So it's been a while. I did look though, and you can still get it actually. So I did see that on walmart.com. You could still get it online there. So there you go. It must have been a really popular collection. Then this will be my inside piece. And let's see. What did I say was the bottom? I think this is the, okay. So we're going to go this way and then this way. All right. Let me set that aside. Again, I am going to use these 1-inch double-sided tape on the back of this. So if you're interested in doing your own Twilight themed junk journal, or if you just wanted to use it for some sort of Halloween journal, maybe a vampire journal, then you can still get this collection. This brand is still around. It's a good brand. The only thing about it that prevents me from using it more often is that it is single-sided, and I really prefer a double-sided paper. There was a time when I had no preference and I did not care, but I was a card maker for the longest time starting out, and so I didn't necessarily need double-sided papers. So single-sided was kind of my go-to. That way I didn't have to make any choices about which side I was going to have to use, right? That always made it easier, narrowing down the options. But now that I'm doing journaling and stuff, I really prefer having double-sided paper. So I don't tend to buy any single-sided anymore when I'm purchasing. I mean, I really, really have to love the collection in order to buy a single-sided. I'm going to go ahead and take my black soot and give this a good inking along the edge here. I had already inked this inside piece just because I wanted to get rid of that white core. Get those little corners. There we go. All right. It looks good. Set that aside. Now I did go ahead and do the back side already. So I am ahead of the game. Oh, look at this. This happens on occasion when you're working with thicker papers. So that cardstock did crack. It just didn't particularly care for going around this. That's why I really cut a wider border around it, because usually I would only do a 1/4 to 1/2 inch border around, but I did 1 inch on each side of this just so that there was more paper laying down and adhered to the base because of some of the cracking. That way it wasn't applying too much stress on that paper to hold on tight with just that little 1/4 inch, right? So I think that it's going to go like this. I am going to go ahead and set some eyelets in there for a closure. I don't think that I can slide both of these in here at the same time. That would probably be the easiest. Oh, I can. Never mind, I can. So let me go to my larger side on my crocodile, and I am going to eyeball the center, which I think is about there. And now they are perfectly aligned. So that ended up being in my favor. Now I don't have to measure them. There is a pretty wide opening here, and I just wasn't sure with all those paper layers whether or not it was going to be enough room. But it was, so good deal for me. And I don't know why I put that up. I'm still going to need it. So let me go over here to my eyelets. And I like using these guys. So these are a little bit wider than my actual hole that I punched with this crocodile, but I can kind of force it. You just got to work it a little bit, and you can get it to go in there. There we go. And then what I do like about these is that it has these little backers here. You can put on the back of this, right? So that whenever you close it down, then it's got a nice little border on the front and the back, and I'll show you what I'm talking about in a minute. Because a lot of times when you're working with eyelets and you don't have a little grommet that goes on the back, then you can get this splaying, and then it's obvious, right? It's obvious on the back of your paper after it's been splayed to put down. But because this has that little grommet that goes, that full circle that goes around there, then it folds over it and you don't actually see it, right? So then it looks just nice and clean on both sides. Good deal. So I'm loving this. Okay, let me go ahead and put my back cover on first. So let me make sure this is the right way. This is the right way. Okay. Moment of truth. These are the parts that always stress me out. It's the putting the cover on, making sure everything's lined up just right. All right. And again, I'm going to do a combination of wet glue and tape. Okay, and then I guess we're saying it's going to go this way. And there we go. See, I wanted it to fit like right on the cover, and it does. See, I just didn't want there to be a lot of room on each side. Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and get the front side now. The back cover went on smoothly, so now I'm a little bit concerned. This is all coming together too nicely. All right. And then my wet glue. Be very generous. There we go. Okay. And then it is going to go this way. I'm going to line this up. Go ahead and put it down. And that looks right. Let me get in here and make sure this is down. Hear the adhesive on that binding there. Okay. Now let's see. I want to put some ribbon in for my closure. And I chose this black seam binding mostly because I could not find any red. I think that I've used all my red seam binding, so I need to get some more because I really do love tying closures with seam binding here. I don't like cutting in the middle of these, but I may have to do that. I feel like that's enough. Okay. So let me measure out the other side. I don't know what I'm doing here. We're going to go ahead and feed this through. There we go. Now we'll do the other one. Do You want to make sure it's straight. Okay. There we go. And we have a closure. We'll be able to tie that up into a little bow. And we will do that later because I'm still working on it. But that was just to show you. Okay, now I have these guys. So these were the little books that I bought online. So what I ended up doing is drilling a little hole in here on each corner of these, and then I put jump rings through them. So now I've got all these little guys, and I think that I wanted to create a dangle of some sort, and I had originally thought that I would loop it in here and have it come down. I mean, I still think that that's probably the best option. Let's see what we can do. I'm gonna drop this in here. I don't want to give it too much chain, but also not so little that it can't be removed fairly easily. Thinking right about there. I'm going to take my wire cutters. These are all my jewelry making bits from my jewelry making and mixed media days. Did a lot of work with metal bits back in the day. Okay, so there we go. Now let me just start attaching these. So I don't know if that's the deal. I don't know how low I really want them hanging. So whether or not I'm just going to attach them directly on this or what. So let's try that. Let's try that first. So here it is. And I have them at varying lengths so that they don't dangle all at one length, that they kind of vary. So all the jump rings are different sizes. So we have, what was that? Midnight sun, breaking dawn, eclipse, new moon, and then some of these I did do double jump rings. Let's see. New moon and then twilight. All right, I just want to see what this looks like. I guess I probably should have played around with this beforehand, but I didn't, and so this is just kind of what we're stuck with. Oh, it's cute though. Okay, I'm not mad at it. What do we think? It's really cute. Let me know. Should I leave it at that length and kind of let it dangle around, or should I make it a little bit shorter? That was really easy. So then I have another element that I wanted to work on, and it was this guy right here. Let me set this aside. So it's this guy right here. This was the soundtrack movie poster that I'm holding on to, and I wanted to put it in the journal, but I didn't want to put it in with all of this stuff on the back. So this is what I'm thinking. I did go ahead and cut down some images from the leftover pattern paper that I have. I don't want to put those too close together. Move that down here, and I wanted to see what this would look like. So they're all different. I like it. I don't know if it's going to fold up once I get it all together, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So I'm going to ink up these edges and go ahead and put it down. I hope you're enjoying this, even if Twilight isn't your cup of tea. It's still, the little paper bag or lunch sack journals are still cute, and they're real quick and easy. Really quick and easy. And honestly, if I was teaching for a group, this is, I would do the lunch sack because they're inexpensive. especially if you're working with younger kids. They're so inexpensive and just super easy to construct. You don't have to have all the fancy stuff. And then if you just had, you know, paper scraps, just let them have at it to decorate. And then you've got all the fun pockets and everything. And I just really think that that would be the way I would go. Super easy. And maybe I'm just partial because this was one of the first journals that I did. Oh, it's double, okay. It is double-sided. Okay. And then last two. Get this one as well, since I've already got this inked up. It's nice big roses, are so pretty. Let's see, I'm going to put this one here. And then this one up in the corner. And then we've got to find a home. There we go. Now I've got all these spots here where it creases, and I think that I'm going to go ahead and ink those up as well. Let's get those center bits here too, and then there was one more. There we go. Is that right? That is it. Oh, and it does close up pretty good. I mean, it's not perfectly flat, but I didn't expect it to be after putting so much paper in there. All right. So here's where we're at. I don't know for sure what I want to do to decorate the cover. I just have not 100% decided. I have a lot of these florals, but I didn't want something that was going to stand up and be too high profile. You know, I've got some red roses, I've got some of those black ones, and I just could not figure out what I was going to do on the cover. I was also thinking about maybe wrapping some black lace, you know, around it, and I can always decide that later, right? Yes, I'm giving myself permission to decide what I'm going to do with the cover later. I think what we'll do is I will go ahead and clear all of this back. Let me push it back. I don't want to force creativity. And I say it all the time that if you're not sure, there are a couple of ways to get around not being sure if you like the way something looks. Position it, take pictures, and then look through your pictures and see which one grabs your eye or what it is that is drawing your eye so that you know what to fix or which one that you prefer. Also setting it up and then standing back away from your project and looking at it from a distance will also help you figure out what you're missing. And then in cases like this where you're not sure what you want to do, period, putting it aside, moving on to something else, that is a for sure way to get you to pull this right back out and pull out all of your stuff after you've put it away to finish it up. So for right now, I'm not going to force it and I'm going to just leave it as is. So let's go ahead and do a flip through. And while we're flipping through it, I want to find a place for this guy. So we have got a journal that ended up being, what was it? 5 1/4 by just over 7 1/2, and then like 1.5 inches on the spine. So nice, nice, nice. And then I've got these little baubles. I want you to see those. They're really cute. I really like these. I got those in a little Etsy shop. All right, and I've got this lovely seam binding closure. Let's go ahead and open it up. I could have left a pocket, but I didn't want to here because I had initially thought about sliding this in, but that was going to leave such a narrow margin. Long term, that cover would not have stayed attached. So I opted to forego the pocket. And then here we go. What if I am not the hero? There's our Edward. And then in our first pocket, we've got journaling card. And then in the second pocket, we've got our Edward. I did do some stamping, so I don't know if you can see this. I used my Wink of Stella on his skin to get him to sparkle. Can you see it? I can't tell whether or not you can see it or not, but his hand and his face do sparkle. And then I gave him some gold eyes because he has gold eyes. Right? Right. All right, let me put this back in here. So see, I don't color a lot, but I do like pops of color. So I'll color enough for that. And then right here, I made a little pocket with this. And then I've got the good guys and the bad guys. And then we'll slide this back into that little pocket. And then this lifts, right? And so then I've got my Edward and my Bella looking lovingly at each other. And then it says, a song just for you. And this has Twilight stamped on it. And then on this side, this little guy, I ended up making a pocket out of this. And then I made a bunch of tags. Oh, I didn't show you this. Okay, so in my first video, I revealed everything that I was going to be using to create this. But I forgot to show you these right here. So I picked up this stamp set way back in the day at Barnes & Noble, I think is where it was being sold. And it is the official Twilight stamp set. They're not great stamps, but they get the job done. I decided to go ahead and use them. And so I took some of my scrap papers and I did do a heat emboss on these. And this is in the color like a hematite. So it's like a gray, like a pewter gray, or actually darker than a pewter, but that's a Team Edward. And then that's the Cullen crest, and there's Edward. And then there's Bella, and it's stamped Twilight. And then here's our Team Jacob stamps, and then just Team Jacob there in the emboss. And then there's our Jacob. He's a little bit crooked, but he was crooked on the stamp. So I kept going over it, and I was like, you know what? He's just going to look like he's tossing his hair back. We're going to do that. And then I did my little Team Jacob stamps on there. So there we go. There are my little tags. Let's put that right back there where that moon is showing, and our Bella, and then our Team Edward. All right. And then the lion fell in love with the lamb. And all my roses. I didn't do anything on here. So some of these I decorated, and some of these I chose to just leave plain so that whoever ends up with the journal is able to add all of their own personal touches to it, right? And this paper is pretty, and it has some embossing on it, so there was no need to mess with it. All right, let me slide this in here, and then we'll go to the, oh, this one was the center. This was our first center piece. And then this is what I ended up doing. I ended up pulling out another picture of those trees from that 12 by 12 pack. Let me turn it to the side so you can see the whole thing. So it's got some embossed down here, but I really, really liked that. That's pretty, isn't it? Okay, so that goes over the center. And then in this pocket, this is our Jacob. There's our wolf. And then more of those trees on this side. And then if we open it up, it says, this is the last time you'll ever see me. So dramatic. This is when we enter our new moon phase. We've got the little heart here, the moon, forest picture, the ribbon there in the background. That's for the eclipse cover. And then here are our lovebirds, Edward and Bella. And then, okay, and then on this one, I've got that lovely shot of the beach on the wolf territory. Was it La Push? Is that what that was? I can't recall. It's been a while. I think it is, though. And then on this side, I have the My Vampire Can Beat Your Werewolf in here, and then Believe in Love and this heart. And then Collins, this is the Collin family. And then I just added a chest piece for decoration. I've got my little stamp here. So I gave Bella brown eyes and colored the little heart red. And then I added an Edward on this side. This was from my Visible Image stamp set. And I gave him gold eyes again and sparkly skin. Like I said, I don't know if that sparkly skin is showing up. I wish it was. Maybe it is. I don't know. But anyway, that Wink Stella was a lot of fun. And then on this side, my werewolf can beat your vampire. Oh, and that what it says bitten. All right, and then this one slides out, and then we've got that lovely blue tinted rose with all of that bluish embossing on the back side. Oh, and then in the center of this, we've got that image that says forever, that tree. Let me turn it to the side so you can see the whole thing. Pretty, pretty. And it goes right over the center here. All right, and then the next one is this guy, and I don't know whether or not you can, oh, you can see it, look. Okay, so I took that mask that I have, it was a stencil and a mask, and I took the mask, which was Edward and Bella here, and I taped it down with cement tape, and then I spritzed, what did I spritz? So it's the Distress Mica Stain in Empty Tomb, so it's got that gray kind of pewter shine to it again. And then I put the stencil on this and then went around it in a little bit of that black soot to really bring out the image of the couple a little bit better, to define those edges, and then stamped Let's Start With Forever. See, I thought that was pretty. You can really see it from my angle, so I hope that you guys can see it well. I hope it's coming across on the video as well. Okay, let me put that back. I love this. I love this image right here of the trees, but that opens up and then you've got this. So this is the, if the picture was extended, this is the top part of this where it trails, and then there you go. And then forever and the end, that is it. So that is my journal, and I need to find a little home for this guy. And I don't know, I guess we could just drop him in a pocket. And I guess that would work. Maybe we could. What if I did this? Okay. What if I pop this in here and then this goes there? So that comes up and completely out, and then it's the apple and the apple, so that kind of matches. And then this tag can go in here where it is. So instead of putting the tag in here, the journal card, the large journal card in there, then I'm going to put this in here and then move the journal card to here. And see, and it still folds up. And I need to ink up this little edge. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so now it's in there, and then this is what it looks like. It feels fantastic. I'm really tactile. I like to always fill my journals at the end and make sure they're squishy. Adding all of these fold outs down here, all of those inserts, it really bulked up the end of this so that it feels great with the bases, because the bases of these were so thick and then this was thin, and you don't want it to be scrawny. So it's not really an alligator mouth, but it fits in there perfect, and it looks great. And that's what it looks like standing up, and then opening up, it lays flat. So it looks fantastic, feels great. You can't go wrong with a lunch sack journal. And you see how much you can get into this, and this was just 8 lunch sacks, and I was able to put so much stuff in this, and then it still has so much more room in these pockets, and you can add a ton more stuff to it. It's just a great economical option, especially if you're wanting to make a quick gift. All right. So that's it. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you've made one of these lunch sack journals before, or it's something you've seen and just never considered, and maybe you're considering making one now. They're a lot of fun. All right, let me know what you think in the comments, please. If you have any questions, put those down in the comments as well. I'll be sure to reply. Thanks for spending some time with me, and until next time, bye.